everyone, welcome. My name is Kathy Fromme, and welcome to So What's Live. So, again, we're all summer long, the education team is just going to pop into your space on YouTube and Facebook and give you just a short, brief little pop up on something. And today I have for you a little bit of an heirloom technique, but specifically using the Entredeaux stitch, which you can find on most of our machines that have a computer screen, and it doesn't even have to be a high end. It's a fairly basic stitch you'll find on many machines, and the 7-hole cord foot. Now, how many of you out there have the 7-hole cord foot? You might have bought it maybe at a class or an event, used it once and twice, and never got it out again. Well, that's happened to me too. So I just want to show you a couple things that you could do that are different than what you probably did in the class. So I'm going to switch my camera over so I can show you some things up close. So hang tight just a minute. And there we go. So now you're seeing a little display here of some heirloom supplies. And while we're not going to delve deep into heirloom sewing today, because I only have about 15 or 20 minutes with you all, I wanted to just share with you some of the things I'll be using. So I'm going to be using a wing needle, and that's what you see here in the package at the back. I'll show you a close-up picture of it in a minute. And we're going to be using some sort of cording. Now, that cording is not the heavy kind of piping cording, but it's very thin cording. And I like to use this embroidery type floss. You can purchase it on a skein like this, or it comes in little balls as well. A couple different sizes you can use. A size 5 is a little bit thicker, and this purple one is a thinner. That's like about a size 8, I believe, if I read my label right. Yes, it's a size 8. So either one of those will work. And I show you colors because heirloom doesn't have to be all white or ivory. I mean, that is the traditional heirloom, but you don't have to be traditional. And I thought for seeing this technique, it would be much easier to see it with some color added. Okay. Something else you're going to need is a little bit of stabilizer. I like to use our Stitch and Ditch stabilizer. That's like a paper. It's glossy, shiny on one side, and you can layer it up to use a couple layers if you need a little more thickness. Or the alternative to this would be a very crispy, lightweight tearaway, because you don't want the stabilizer to stay in your project and you want it to go away easily. So something that's crisp and lightweight. Again, layering can be your friend, so that you don't have to use something as heavy that makes it more difficult to remove. Also, you probably want to use some sort of a spray starch or a best press to stiffen your laces and your fabric before you start. All right, so I'm going to do a little camera swing here. Take you over to my machine. And let me just put you in a little tighter. There you go. And right here you can see, I put it on a piece of black fabric for you. This is the wing needle. And I hold it up. You can see that it has a flat, it's almost like it's been flattened down. So we have wings on either side. The eye of the needle is right at the tip, as usual. And something that I do, I know other educators do it as well, when you are sewing with a wing needle or even a twin needle, we do not want to use our automatic needle threader. So take a little piece of painter's tape, because it won't damage your machine at all, and place it right over your thread cutter button. And I've stuck that on my machine. I'm not going to move my camera to show you, but I put it on my machine so I can't inadvertently just use that needle threader. Okay. There are also some techniques that you may want to not use your cutter for. I do the same thing. Put that painter's tape over that. So I want to thank Meredith, who is working our background and feeding questions, answering questions and things, feeding questions with me. And I know that's a trick she's used as well. That little painter's tape either over the cutter or the needle threader when it's not appropriate to use. Right, Meredith?
Yes, because I've even done it live where I go to push that and I'm like, nope, can't do that, not this time. So yeah, it's just a good reminder.
I know, I know. Okay, so I've got a couple laces here on the bed of my machine, and I do have a wing needle already in the machine and threaded by hand. But I wanted to show you some traditional heirloom type laces. On the of the screen, you just see an insertion lace. That's a piece that's folded over. There you go. And insertion lace usually has a little header on the top. Uh, it can be gathered, it can be shaped, it can be just stitched down flat. This particular one here is an edging. So if I turn it, it might make more sense to you. So at the top, there's a header that I can feed a little bit of a narrow ribbon through, and then it has a pretty little scallop finished edge on it. So those are some laces. And then more in the look of cotton, we have a piece of traditional purchased Entredeaux. If I hold it up, you can see the light coming through those holes. So we have a beautiful Entredeaux stitch on many of our Husqvarna Viking machines, and you will find it on a lot of other machines as well. So take a look for a stitch that looks like a diamond stitch that repeats itself, and it's recommended to use a wing needle with, and then you'll know you have your Entredeaux stitch. But you could purchase this trim by the yard, and it's not terribly inexpensive to buy by the yard. So if you've got the stitch on your machine, why won't you just do the stitch, right? It saves a lot of time. And you end up cutting away all of this extra batiste that's on the edge of this. You just end up really using the holes only. All right. Now there are some insertions like this one here that has a pattern in it that has Entredeaux on the edges. And so that is another type of trim or lace used traditionally in heirloom stitching. But this has an Entredeaux with it. This has already been trimmed away. I've already trimmed the fabric away from it. Now I want to give you an alternative, because I'm all about using our machines in a creative way, of creating your own. So this piece, that's really washed up for you. I'm sorry. I might hold it up to my other camera here. There we go. That's a little better. So this piece is in the center. It's just fabric. It's just a piece of batiste. In the middle, I've done one of the cross stitches that repeats with the wing needle and mirrored a scallop stitch on either side, and then attached the insertion type lace with Entredeaux, with that stitch on my machine. So I created all of this with thread and lace, and this is just a piece of kind of an ecru or beige colored batiste and peach colored thread. It's a color combination I really like, but you don't have to be traditional in color. Here's a piece of trim in process. So this is one of our very pretty wide omni motion stitches. And again, I have some starched batiste with my tearaway, my stitch and ditch type stabilizer on the bottom. I do have 2 layers on this, and I've created the insertion part as a trim, and now I would just have to insert it with either some lace or Entredeaux into my project. But we have over 800 beautiful decorative stitches on our Designer Epic 3, and you might as well use a few of them, right? All right, so let me show you about cording an Entredeaux and what the difference is and what we're going to use. So I'm going to bring you on over here. Meredith, do we need to be, how's that for a zoom? Is that okay?
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay, so the foot we're going to use is a foot called the 7-hole cord foot. If you have the Designer Epic 2 or Designer Epic 3, or the 95Q quilt designer. That's sewing only one. We also have an 11 hole cord foot. Now, traditionally, this foot, you thread cords through it and you do a wide decorative stitch, a fairly open stitch over top of them. It holds it down and it gives you surface embellishment. But I'm going to use it to increase the thickness of my Entredeaux, give it a little bit more body, okay? So I have, this is the 11 hole. You could use that one. I'm using the 7 hole today, and I've already pre-threaded it. Meredith, wouldn't you agree that threading something through a foot on live TV is a little challenging?
Yes, and threading it when it's attached to the ankle already also. Do the
Right.
thread beforehand.
Now, this foot, it doesn't leave you stranded. It does come with a couple of these little hand needle threader type things to thread the cords through. And I'll show you on this 11 hole cord foot, perhaps, if I can do it without getting my hands in the way. Basically, you put the threader up through the hole, and then you put the tail of your cord through it and pull it down. Okay. So there's a really great illustration right on the back of the packaging for this. So I'm going to leave that part up to you. And I did tie a knot at the back. I do this whether I'm on TV or not. I just tie a knot in my cord so they can't go away. You know, I don't want to drop my foot and lose everything. So pardon my hands while I snap this foot on. I believe I mentioned I was using some contrast so that you could better see things on camera. On the left side here, I've just done the Entredeaux with a green thread to show you what it looks like in a small size and a little bit of a wider size. Okay. And on the Designer Epic 3, just an FYI, you can find the Entredeaux stitch in the crafting menu, and that's menu B, and it's sub-menu 1. Epic 3, it is stitch number 10. I apologize, I don't know what it is on the Epic 2. I have that machine put away at the moment, so I'm not sure, but it's a diamond stitch. I'm going to lower my presser foot, again, just so I have more control. Of course, when I step on the foot control, I would have lowered the presser foot automatically. And I am going to engage needle down. And I'm going to go ahead and start sewing. I'm keeping my cords nice and even. I'm not pulling on them. I'm just guiding them. And you should be able to see that if I slow it way, way down, I'm getting my cord right in. My cord is being encased in my stitch. And I'm having a little difficulty because I am like sitting at a very bizarre angle to my machine. And of course, what do I want to do at the end? I want to touch that scissor and cut. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to raise it up and then raise up my foot and pull it back. Okay. So here you can see side by side how much nicer the corded version looks. All right. So on the left side is just the exact same thread, top and bottom. And then the one on the right, same threads, top and bottom, didn't change it at all. And with the cording in it. So it makes a nice contrast for the project. And if I come back to my some additional samples here, here's some done on a blue chambray. You know, chambray shirts they're classic. They never go out of style. And why not take a purchased chambray shirt and just add a couple rows of stitching maybe along the collar or the placket. So here's some that I did, and I left the cords out so you could see that they are indeed corded. I experimented with different widths of my Entredeaux stitch. There are 2 sizes of the wing needle. The size I use today is the size 100, but it does come in a size 120 as well, which is going to be bigger. For batistes and the lighter weight fabrics, I would tend to use this size, the 100. And then if I'm using a heavier, coarser linen, I might bump it up to the 120. Okay. Let's see here. I'll show you something else. You're not limited to just that Entredeaux stitch. This stitch here is a series of essentially like a cross stitch. And I fed 3 cords, if I can kind of tease that open right there at the end, and show you that there are 3 cords in this stitch. It's a wide stitch. And I used it in an example of hemming. You can see at this end where it's more sheer that I've already trimmed it away on the back side. This can be a great finish. I always have to shorten sleeves because I have short arms when I purchase a long sleeve blouse. So sometimes I cut off the cuffs and then just hem the sleeve. And this would be a great way to hem a sleeve, or one of the linen towels for your kitchen if you do some embroidery on them. So again, just did the stitch and then afterwards trim away the excess. When you have a finished edge, it's not going to ravel at all. And I have a couple other things to show you, but I'm going to switch cameras. So hang tight while we come back, because this will be much easier to show you on my main screen. There we go. Okay, so I know our time is coming up really quickly. So I have, these are some teaching samples from my days of teaching heirloom sewing. And let's see, Meredith, you have to tell me.
We had one lady ask what stitch that last one was. I think with the hemming that you had done.
Yes. Let me here look at my machine real quick, and I'll tell you on the Designer Epic 3 which one it is. There are, 800 stitches here, so I got to find it. It is... Oh, it's in a different menu now than it used to be. Oh, here it is. It's 9, B19. And if you touch the little info button at the top of your screen, it tells you it's a hem stitch, and you can use it with lightweight or decorative threads and a wing needle size 100. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. So, Meredith, tell me if this is like in focus for you.
Yeah, there it goes. It just gives you a second to.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is fabric that I decorated before I cut a pattern piece out of it. And I have alternating rows of corded Entredeaux. I think you can tell which ones those are. And then just a narrow stitched over cord with a little narrow open zigzag. So again, taking plain fabric and making it more interesting. It's not particularly frilly or, extremely lacy. I mean, there's no lace whatsoever. It's just thread, cord, and fabric. So you don't have to go to extremes if you want to try your hand at some heirloom. And then I have one other sample to show you in which I have this. Again, this is a sleeve. So there's some very pretty stitches and purchased trim in the middle, but this trim on the side here where it goes like in a diamond zigzag, all that is that corded Entredeaux stitch stitched on a pattern of a zigzag. And then I place this little teardrop sewing stitch. And oh, Meredith, I did this one a while ago. This is one of my past teaching samples. How much easier would these teardrops be to place with our new projection in our sewing on Designer Epic 3?
That's literally what I was thinking. I was like, man, that would be really cool to do. And then you could easily visualize it before you put it on there too, to see if it's the size you want and everything.
Absolutely. So those are 2 examples of ways you could use this that aren't particularly overly, frou-frou, because a lot of people, when they hear about heirloom, they think of, little girls and pretty pinafores and all of that. And that might not be practical in today's world. But there's still ways to add just a touch of elegance to a project, whether it's a purchased shirt that you add a little embellishment to, or a project you're making from scratch.
Yeah.
So
we had a couple questions come through. One asked, what kind of cord do you use? So I don't know if you want to talk about that again really quick.
Sure, absolutely. So the cording I used is either there is a cord that's sold specifically called GIMP cording. Ask your local retailer if they carry it or can get it for you. It is like a fine diameter cord, and I have a spool of it in white over out of reach of my camera. But another one that you can use is the embroidery floss that's a pearl cotton. It's the spirally kind of embroidery floss. It's a little bit thicker. This is a size 5, and most of the companies make this, or it can be found. This is still pearl cotton, same material in the little spools. When I was growing up, this was darning cotton to me. My mom had a box with darning cotton and all that because she darned socks and things. So you might just go through your aunt or grandmother's stuff, and you might even find some. I've used both size 5, which is this diameter. There's a thinner one, a size 8, that you can use. So as the numbers get smaller, the thread gets just a little bit thicker. So that's the type of cording I've used. Or I've used the GIMP cord, which is kind of out of reach here, but it's a white, looks like crochet cotton, but it's thinner than crochet cotton. Okay. What else do we have, Meredith? Do we have any other questions out there? Okay, well, we'll check back. And if you have a question, put it in the chat, and Meredith and I will be monitoring our chat for a little bit and coming back in and answering any questions that you might have. Of course, this is recorded, so you'll be able to see it. If you missed a tip or hint, you can share it with your friends on either YouTube or Facebook. So do we have anything else, Meredith, today? I think we might have another one pop up. We might have another pop up towards the end of the week, I think. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you on our regular channels. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.